Hello everyone, I hope you like this video, and if you do, please subscribe. COVID started in February 2020 and this made working on the boat very difficult. But it was the same for everyone, and it was important to protect the old people. Not that I'm old. So I like to lift the boat out for the winter whenever possible, and a friend of mine, Michal Shea, gives me a cradle that I can leave the boat on. A crane comes to Dingle and they lift onto the shore, or sometimes I go to Murphy's Marine across the way. To lift off the mast, I undo the electrics below, tie slings onto the top cross trees. You have to climb up the mast to get the slings around the diamonds. And he'll take the weight, undo the stays, and lift it off nice and carefully. It's no problem. It's slightly balanced from below. You tie in the furlers to make sure they're nice and secure, and then he'll drop it down nice and carefully. And with the weight at the top of the mast, it's not really a bother, just mind the furlers. I like to lift off the mast because it takes the pressure off the boat. In 100-mile-an-hour winds, which we get here in West Kerry, it just removes the pressure off the cradle and off the boat when it's down. These boats are quite strong, but it's important to get the slings over the bulkheads to counteract the pinch points of the slings. The boat isn't out yet this year. It was to be out, but the weather hasn't been good enough for the crane to lift it. Hopefully in the next few days we'll get a weather window and be able to lift the boat out and take the mast off. I'm so looking forward to getting the boat out of the water. I have a good few jobs to do. One job is I want to remove the engine and work on the stern tube, but I will go into that in a later video as I do it. I'm also keen to see the anti-fouling. I was really delighted with Seajet self-polishing anti-fouling during the Golden Globe race. It kept the boat really clean. Now it's been idle in the water a while, so I presume it'll be dirty-ish. Maybe like it is here. This was lifted out 2 years ago, and I had a different anti-fouling then, but it was just a scum. It was no bother. I have actually epoxied the hull since and fared that it's much smoother now. So it'll be just interesting to see how it turns out. I got a purpose-made cover with the boat that I will fit over the boat, so I will be able to work on the decks. I want to work on the chain plates that are leaking. There's a few of them leaking only in very heavy weather, and I will clean off underneath the boat and do all that. So I'm looking forward to getting it out. It's going to be a good winter sorting out things like that. Here is a video I made a few years ago about the mast and about working on it, and I have done a lot since, and I still have a lot to do.
This is the mast. To me, this is everything. In the last race, 5 boats lost their masts and the boats were wrecked and lost. So if this mast isn't right, you're in big trouble, like, you know. And I have my pension fund gone into this, so this boat is my floating asset. So the mast, like all the other things, are kind of immaterial at the moment. They have to be done, but this, to get this right, is everything. This here is a fitting the swage done, and they're not strong enough.
What length is the mast?
44 feet. There's one right up in the top. See this one here? They're mechanical fittings, and they're way stronger. Now that's an old one, but they'll all be replaced. And these will the swage fittings will all be replaced. They're not strong enough. The T-balls in the mast, they're not strong enough either. They'll all have to be replaced with compression bolts. I have one put in here. This is a compression bolt for the running backstays. So they'll all be replaced as well. And I'll have to put a sleeve from the bottom of the mast up to the cross trees here. When the mast will wind up in the water a few times, going on statistics, and in under the water. And the boat that won the last time, he pitched poled, which meant he went head over heels. And his mast survived because he had prepared properly. So the mast breaks between the bottom cross trees and down there. So I'll have to take off all the fittings and make a sleeve and put it up into the mast. And that will include those doing all that. So that's my main thing, that if that's not strong enough, there's no point in going, in my opinion, because you're only taking a chance.
In comparison to what you had in it, how much stronger is this one?
Oh, statistics, I don't know. If it breaks above here, it probably wouldn't break anyway if it doesn't break below here. If it breaks above here, at least you still have a stump of a mast to work on. When the mast broke on a lot of the boats that lost their boats, the mast actually made a hole in the side of the boat. So that's your main problem. I have a jury rig system that I have practiced, that I can put up 2 spinnaker poles. So I don't want the mast to break. So like if the other boat pitch poled and survived John Luke Van de Heed, the fellow who won the last race, and that's a violent thing to happen to a boat, like, and if that survived, so you need to get to that strength, and yeah, so that's, and I'll put a lot into the mast. You know, it is everything to get right.
It's the spine in a way.
Yeah, and it's a learning curve from other boats that you're learning from other people's misfortune or whatever mistakes. But anyway, but yeah, I think if the mast isn't right, you really shouldn't be in the race because you're only putting yourself under pressure, and that if you lose your mast, it's a big ordeal, like, you know, and it isn't fair to be rescued and whatever if you have to be. So yeah, so you try your best, and that's only my opinion. I'm a bit new to this level. This would be fine for the west coast of Ireland. When you go into the Southern Ocean, it's a different kettle of fish, you know. So I have to make the mast strong enough to go well in under the water and come back up without breaking.
Joe Ryle, a friend of mine, offered to bring the mast out on his lorry to the workshop, and he brought it back into town again when it was done. It was great to have the workshop to work on the mast. Micheál Connor and his son Greg came over then, and after I cut out the aluminium, they welded together for me. It was a job well done. Here is some footage from that time. Today I'm working on the mast and tidying up around the workshop. So the mast is a big one. I've been planning this for a while. So I got the mast into the workshop on Sunday, and I have taken bits off it, and now I'm ready to start the real kind of work, which I was kind of nervous about, but since I have started, you know, it's not rocket science, it's fine. This is just 4 I have cut out with the CNC machine for the mast. You can see roughly how it will go. I will have those put together on a proper bed for the same length as the sleeve. And the sleeve will be this shape of the pencil line here. So there'll be a top and a bottom, and it will just fit into the mast like that. So it will strengthen the mast from the bottom cross trees down to the base. The 2 tracks for the spinnaker poles will strengthen it, and I'm delighted with the inside of the mast. The inside of the mast is in great condition, really perfectly smooth, as good as new. Here you can see my chain plates that I took out, a few more to come out, but that's fine. Interesting, stainless steel needs oxygen to keep its strength, and where it goes through the deck it doesn't have great oxygen feeding it. But yeah, new chain plates will be coming soon, and I'm looking forward to getting this mast back up and all the work done to it. So this is the crane for the top. This is the tabernacle, I call it, the foot of the mast. Bit of a job to get it off, but it's off, and I have had the sheaves out and cleaned them all up and all that. The winches I'll service again. I had serviced them. Here's just, I've been just going through while I had the table out, other equipment I have. This is the sleeve after I put it together and not welded yet, and I'm just testing it to go in, and it really fitted so well. After Micheál and Greg were finished welding the mast together, it fitted like a glove. Here is some footage from after the sleeve was made. Holes in the mast perfectly lined up. Pull it out a small bit, you can see. Pull it out more. Yes. It's welded on, dovetailed, really strong, really light. I'd say a winch on the side of the mast would be heavier than it. Yeah, now can you see where it goes in? Where they come through here and weld it on? Fantastic. Excellent. Really happy with this job. Just a quick update on how yesterday went on the mast. The crane is back on top. It's nearly finished being dressed. The Echo Max radar reflector is there. And thanks for the goodness, all went very well yesterday. You can see the rivets holding the sleeve in down along the side of the mast. The winches are all put back on the cleats and all the fittings. The tabernacle is back. More cleats on this side and the jammer. This is the new Harkin furler I got from Union Chandlery. An Echo Max floating radar reflector and lots of other things. So, Kemp mast, you can see the rivets that are holding the sleeve into it. So all is good in the world. Woohoo! I bought the boat in Monnickendam, and after buying it, I sailed it down through the city of Amsterdam, out into the North Sea, and down to Les Sables for the Golden Globe Race 2018 prize giving. I was in Les Sables for over a week, and I met all the skippers. I had great chats with them. But one thing I heard a couple of times is that when the Irish boat came down for the 2018 race, they reckoned the rigging wasn't good enough to make the Southern Ocean crossing. This was a good education to me, and I decided that I would have to get really good advice and help. And I studied rigging, and actually I think it's a fantastic job. I find it very interesting. Any young fella that will have an interest in boats, I think there's an opening for a really good rigger in Ireland. Someone who would be passionate and concerned and caring about the masts and rigging on boats. I think there's an opening for that. Anyway, I came home and I have been working on it since, and I really enjoyed the journey of the mast and the rigging and learning all about it. I was a bit over concerned about the mechanical fittings. Maybe the swage fittings are probably almost as strong, mightn't be exactly as strong, but when they're new, they're probably all the same strength. It's after a few years, the mechanical fittings have an advantage. During the 2022 Golden Globe race that I sailed in down to Cape Town, I learnt an awful lot about my mast. And during my sail home, I actually got a full knockdown where the mast went into the water. Now the mast is in good conditions, but there are changes I will make. One change is my running backstays are above the top cross trees, and I want to drop them down below. It's just so that when they're not in use, they're not rubbing off the cross trees. So that was a mistake I made first day. But life isn't perfect and we keep making mistakes, I suppose. Another one is my compression bolts for the 4 lowers are quite thick in the middle, so I want to remove them and reduce the thickness in the middle, get pieces turned on the lathe, and that's just more room for the ropes to run down each side of it. When I got to Les Sables for the start of the Golden Globe race, I asked the local rigger Terry to check out my mast and rigging. He hopped up the mast to fit man, and he said I needed a deflector on my spinnaker halyard and 2 of my stays on each side were on the wrong chain plates. So we sorted that out. After I got back home to Ireland, I decided to do the D2D race. And while sailing up to Dunleary for the start, my inner forestay in the furler broke, one joint down from the top. Now lucky enough, I had a second furler out in front which held the mast up perfectly. But if I didn't, I would have been in trouble, or my mast could have been in trouble. Now the halyard held it, so I sailed into Dunmaurice and took off the furler. I still have it here, and I will get a kit and fix it up. I presume it's going to be good enough. It was always a little bit stiff and clicked after I went up. I don't know why it got caught above in the stay, but it did, and it twisted the stay right on the very top, and it popped and broke. So anyway, there's an education in that, and actually having 2 furlers out front gives you great security. I was lucky enough before the start of the Golden Globe race to meet a great Welsh rigger, Jade, and he is going to get involved with me and help me finish off my mast for the Golden Globe race in 26. He has some very interesting ideas, and he's going to come over shortly and look at my mast. We got a weather window and managed to lift the boat out yesterday in Dingle. I took off the mast, so the mast is beside the boat on the ground. When it goes back up in the spring, I intend to have it race ready for the 2026 Golden Globe race. I will do another bit in the spring about the mast after it goes back up. So, slán tamil, and thanks for watching. Please subscribe.